Hi, everyone, and welcome to this live session with the team at Work for Impact. I'm Beatrice, and I will be your host today. If you don't know us, Work for Impact is a platform where purposeful freelancers meet purposeful organizations that they want to grow and do great things in the world. In this series of live sessions, we are meeting for purpose organizations that will share their story with us, and possibly this could help to inspire many in their journey of making an impact. Today, we're very happy because we have a very important person here with us, Christian Rühlmann, CEO and co-founder of Precycle. There you go. Hi, Christian. Welcome to this live session with us. And thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're talking about plastic today. We're still in July, and plastic in the last few years has been a topic for July because of Plastic-Free July. But then this is like a topic that is very important in our lives recently, and we should tackle this topic every day, and not just in July. And this is actually what you guys do at Precycle, right? So please, Christian, introduce yourself and introduce the amazing work that you guys are doing at Precycle and how it was born and the story behind it.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the intro. And indeed, plastic is the topic that we work on and work with every day over the course of the last 3 years now. And how did it all start? Well, I come from an industrial design background, so I'm a trained industrial designer, and I ran my own design studio previously. And I worked with plastics in the professional context and know quite a bit about production technologies and possibilities of, and so on and so forth. And one day I started to get interested and curious about what the impact of my work actually is. And I started to research into the plastic problem, and it's a rabbit hole, right? Once you fall down it and you build a bit of momentum, the deeper you dig, the more complex and the more fascinating in a really dark sense it gets. And I think that was a time in my life where a transition started happening from working on aesthetic problems towards an interest for environmental and social problems. And I understood that as a designer, I can apply my problem-solving skills to social and environmental problems. And this was kind of the birth hour of Precycle. Now what is Precycle actually? Precycle is the answer to a question: what can we do in the plastic system today? Right? Plastics it's insanely complex, and it has so many facets and a lot of things. They require so much time, or they require new materials need to be invented and put into production lines, for example. That takes years. Or we need new business models going away from linear economies to circular economies. Also takes years. Or we need better policy to put a tab on plastic, for example, so to limit plastic production in the first place. Again, creating new policy takes years and years. And I was very frustrated because I could see, and everyone can see it, that the plastic problem is getting worse and worse every day. And so my question was, what can we do today that makes a difference, that makes an impact? And at some point, I stumbled upon this really novel concept of plastic credits, which is very similar to carbon credits, but instead of, bluntly speaking, planting trees, it essentially evolves around measuring plastic footprints and then collecting and processing equivalent amounts under fair work conditions, so that we say, okay, one new piece of plastic comes into the system and one old piece of plastic gets collected from the environment. And that is something that really got me interested. Because we see a huge potential in the carbon market, and imagine, applying this to the plastic sector. And then B, because I knew that this was something from the first euro in the system, or from the first dollar in the system, we could create meaningful impact on ground. And so we started going in that direction as a team and saying, okay, what tools can we build to make plastic compensation, plastic offsetting as easy as possible and as accessible as possible for everyone. And here we are today.
That's amazing. That's really like the journey that led you to. It's always interesting to hear and listen to the journey that lead people to start an impactful, let's say, path in terms of career. So yeah, that's really very interesting. So, but then with Precycle, you have two main audiences. So this project has two main stakeholders. Who are they?
So actually, I think we have to correct that and say we have three main stakeholders. Two are in high income nations, and it's businesses, mainly e-commerce brands, and individual customers. And as Precycle, we position ourselves on that intersection between brands and consumers, because in the past and also today, we observe that businesses point their finger at individuals and say, hey, you want to buy the cheapest things possible, and that's why we have to use plastics. And on the other hand, individuals say, we have no other choice. And going to a supermarket or shopping in general, it's very hard not to buy plastic, right? And it's extremely hard to think plastics out of the way we live at this point. And so we say, those two stakeholder groups right now, they're in conflict and in confrontation, and we want to unite them and multiply the potential essentially by joining them, saying join forces and do good things together, right? And so we develop software, and that's our one product for businesses that they can at this point put into their checkout, and just like planting a tree when buying a flight ticket. People can now collect and process plastic waste with only one click in the checkout. And then, on the other hand, we have something targeted directly at individuals, which is a footprint calculator. And it helps you understand your individual personal footprint. And I've done it a couple times now, and it's a scary experience also.
Yes.
Like having it rubbed in your face, how much plastic you actually generate with the lifestyle you're leading, but knowledge is always the first step for change, right? And so we think that this volume is actually very important, and then we want to help people do something today, and that's why we offer kind of a subscription, like a plastic neutral subscription for individuals, so that okay, let's say in Germany, an average plastic footprint is 65 kilograms per year in person. It's a huge mountain. And we offer to collect and recycle the same amount of plastic waste with our impact partners under fair work condition. And that's the third stakeholder group, our impact partners in the Global South, right? So the geographies that are impacted the most from the plastic waste, and especially from the use of plastics that we have in the world, are low-income nations, Southeast Asia, but also
Africa as well,
Africa, and so on and so forth. And we've been exporting our waste for decades, right? Out of sight, out of mind, and pride ourselves in saying, hey, we're recycling champions, where in reality we either incinerate or we export a lot, even till date, right? So we have roughly 10% export ratio, even today in Germany. And the impact that our plastic exports have on local communities and on the environment in places that don't have adequate infrastructure is what we see as the plastic problem in the end. It's these images of rivers full of plastic. The top 10 plastic input rivers into the oceans, 8 of them I think are in Asia, and it's easy for us to say, hey, these are the bad guys, they are causing the plastic problem, but in reality it's often our problem, it's our plastic, right? So we're strongly convinced that being active in those geographies and being active with those communities is extremely important, and there's so much potential in by turning this this problem that we have at the moment. It's an environmental problem. It's also a structural problem. Turning this into an opportunity for waste workers on ground. And so, upgrading operations on ground that's our main goal that we want to achieve with what we do, right?
Yeah, so you're doing a great job, like with the communities. So when we first had our conversation, then you shared that you have been like there with the communities, helping them and trying to tackle these issues. Also, because I think there are, like, as you were saying, like many aspects that you have to take care of, like such as operations or arranging, like or organizing, like many aspects and many things, and also helping them and supporting them in for them, like to tackle the issue. So, what is your experience? How? Tell us a little bit, like your experience, like on the ground in this last few months.
Yeah. So I feel there's again many facets to this problem. In India, for example, we observed that a lot of people can't sustain their lives working as farmers on the fields anymore, and so they experience this gravity of big cities, and they go there in the hopes of finding a job and sending money home. And one thing that happens is that they come across scrap dealers and take a loan and send money home directly, right? Because the family needs money. And the conditions of that loan are so unfavorable that in reality, these people never get out of debt by that scrap dealer. So they are actually in a forced labor setup. That's where they end up, because they always have to work to repay that initial loan. So that's something that is very common. Child labor, of course, is another factor that cannot be overstressed. That this is something we still see widely spread even today, which is, of course, a tragedy, and which is something we're trying to combat with our system as well. The way we do that is we put standards or rules of procedure in place for the organizations that collaborate with us. So if a company says, okay, we're willing to generate plastic credits for Precycle, they have to stick to a certain minimum standard, and that essentially covers a lot of things that we consider normal in high income nations, right? So personal safety equipment, minimum wages, contracts, no child labor, children to school, not to the landfill, essentially. And once a company reports, and we check that in regular intervals, that they follow all these guidelines and these standards, then they become eligible to create plastic credits for Precycle.
Yeah, that's a huge task. So like a huge burden also, because like facing all these issues might not be so easy, also because you get in touch with really, I mean, human issues, like human conditions that are not really fair. So I mean, I think it's very, as you said, tragic to see those things happening still. So,
and at the same time, it's really interesting. I met with politicians, for example, on Sri Lanka, and asked them, hey, what's your plan regarding your waste, right? Because it's a problem. It's on the beaches, landfills. I've stood on landfills, and they say, well, as long as we have people dying in our communities because of hunger, waste takes a backseat on our priority list. And that is a thing that is very hard to argue with. And at the same time, it doesn't lessen the tragedy that is happening. And so intervention is extremely necessary. And every day that passes by is a day where people suffer. And we really want to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing your part by being there, trying to be there as much as you can. I know you're just back from Sri Lanka. You spent a lot of time there, and so trying to help and support those communities. And so thank you for this. But you work in so basically Precycle. It's born. How many years has Precycle?
So it started as a wild idea, I would say 3 years ago. Okay. And at that time, I still ran my old design practice, and it was kind of a side gig essentially, and it kept developing over time. And also, I had a really funny side story, maybe typical German kind of glitch in my brain, saying, "Hey, we have a social environmental problem here. Let's invent a machine for that," right? So I went through a Fraunhofer accelerator program, which is the leading technology research institution in Germany, and trying to invent a machine to solve this problem. And kind of halfway through, I realized that technology is not the issue. We have sufficient technology to do much better than what we do at the moment. And what is lacking is the transfer of funds and the transfer of technology to the places that need it the most. And so, a couple of months in, the whole idea changed, and there was a massive pivot. And then I tried to, I rebuilt the team accordingly and onboarded new expertise, new people. And we worked on this again as, not really a side gig, but it wasn't a full-time commitment yet for quite a while before we founded the company pretty much exactly 1 year ago. So that was the official, okay, we're a company now.
Yeah. Great. So actually you quite answered to my next question. That was as a team, as a young team, I would say, what are the 3 main learnings that you have discovered along the way? I think that one for sure is the fact that you cannot build a machine to do that, for sure. One, it's checked. But then if you want to add more, happy to hear that. But then what are other learnings that you would like to share? And also for also people and companies and organizations that are also working in this field, that might be useful.
So one thing that I'm constantly amazed by is the level and the quality of talent that a strong purpose attracts. It is quite insane when we publish job offers and when we look for people. We receive hundreds of applications, which is not normal in itself. And then the quality of those applications is extremely high as well. And we have people, when I look through the CV, I'm like, no way on earth I'm going to be able to pay them, right? and still I have a conversation with them. And one thing that I often encounter is this narrative of, I've been in the hamster wheel for so long, and I am highly skilled, but what is the outcome of my work actually? And why? What can I do as a person on this planet, right? And what am I using my skills for? And there's an incredible amount of people that start to ask this question and that are very, very interested and willing to work for high impact companies, even if it means taking sometimes quite significant pay cuts. Not saying we're exploiting anyone, but saying, of course, we can't match something the Big Four do or something, right? So and that's so inspiring to see that people say, hey, there is more to life than just my salary, and I want to leave this planet with something meaningful behind. So that's cool. From a business perspective, there is a growing sector of impact investing, right? And that sounds great, as a concept, But over the course of time, we did have to find out that the emphasis still is on investing, right? Impact is kind of a nice little label that gets slapped onto quite a lot of funds. But when it comes to really putting impact first and putting a 10x multiple expectation on the back seat, the field gets very thin, right? There's only a few companies that actually say we really mean what we say, and we're happy with a 2 or 3x multiple on the end of our investment, and that makes life very hard for companies that are mainly impact driven, right? We still have a profitable business model, but of course we're not a hyperscaling tech company, and that makes life very hard for us, which is sad, because there needs to be more and more companies that see business as a tool to create change. But yeah, okay, and then maybe there's number 3, and that one also adds maybe in the same mark, and that is creating that mindset within the team, actually, to say, yes, we solve a societal problem or we solve an ecological problem, but we're building a business, and to create that spirit of entrepreneurship. And at the end of the day, this still has to be profitable, and profit is not bad in itself, right? And to not end up as an NGO, essentially, an initiative. We want to do good, and we're so convinced, and we have such a strong vision and mission that we forget the business aspect. To always kind of pull that back into the center of the intention and say, yes, this impact is important, but making it profitable means making it sustainable, right? It means that we don't depend on external funding, and that means that we can do it much longer than we would when we would run on donations, for example.
Yes. So, and it's also growth across all the team, like not just you. It's not just like the heropreneur that gets all the cake.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like a purposeful organization are not made for that purpose, obviously. But this is we need to like make a living, obviously. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, at the current state of society, I would say.
And I think it should be like that should be a goal, to make purposeful work still profitable. That is something we need to kind of get right as a society, and say this has so much value that profit and profit they have to go hand in hand, and we have to talk about healthy profits, and we have to talk about healthy impacts as well, right? So there needs to be a good balance, and that unfortunately rules out a lot of impact investors.
Yeah, I see. And there's a lot, I mean, you said so many important things in the last few minutes, like in terms of learnings that you got like along the way. And I think that the common word that I can see right now is like there's a change or a need for a change, in a sense that when I think about like people that are willing to join your team, there's a change that is happening, that people are willing to take action, make an impact, make something meaningful with their lives, and give back. You know. So, and also the purpose of your company is also as well to give back to the planet, to restore like a normal and in more balanced and in healthier situation.
Exactly.
And on the other end, like there's a need for change, like the need for change and need for a shift on an economic level. And this is I think it's also important and relevant in order to make this real change happening. So I think that you made up, I mean, you just told us like of two very important points. So thank you for that, like and for sharing this experience. So, but then back to I mean, I'm very interesting also. It's very interesting also the fact that the people are interested in participating and joining what you guys are doing, also because I would do as well. So what are the traits? But you have a team that is working actually also remotely. So you are currently based in Berlin, but then you have like team members all over the world. What are the traits that you are actually looking for when you're, what are the common traits of your team members?
So I think the first one, and it may sound obvious, is optimism. We need people on board that have an optimistic outlook onto the future, because otherwise working at an impact organization just doesn't make much sense, right? And there is a general notion out there that we see every now and then, you know, oh, we're doomed, and what difference does it make? And those kinds of people that, you know, they're not at the right place in an organization like ours. So an optimism paired with a kind of do attitude, someone that, you know, is able to roll up their sleeves and say, okay, let's get it done. Especially in a startup environment, it's important to have people that are self-organized and are aware that no one else is going to do what they do, because they're the expert. They've been hired for something, and there's probably also very few people that can tell them what to do, right? It should be the other way around. Like, hey, you come with an expertise, please tell us how to do marketing, for example, or please tell us how to do sales, and really involve yourself as much as you can and share your knowledge as much as you can, and own the company as much as you can, and do the best of your knowledge for the company, right? Don't wait on someone to tell you what to do. In the end, there's probably no one better skilled to make a decision than you are. So that's something that may sound obvious, but it requires quite a bit of trust on one hand, and also ownership at the other end. So we're looking for people that are able to take that ownership and say to, yes, I will develop this department at this company. Yeah, and then I think communication skills is another one, which is a bit obvious and at the same time extremely crucial. We are in this team, we're very close. We've just come out of a focus week, team week, and we do a lot of things that maybe also exceed normal procedures in companies in order to, you know, build our team, to build strong connections, also on a personal level, and being self-aware, being able to communicate needs and boundaries, and being able to put yourself out there and say, this is who I am today, is something that makes especially remote work also much easier. So good communicators is definitely something we're also having on the list. And then something like a T-shape, right? So someone doesn't have to be a sustainability expert per se, right? A general overview of the sector, of the current discussions, that helps to understand the context a little bit. And then we're looking for that in-depth knowledge of a particular job role, essentially. So someone who's very good in performance marketing doesn't necessarily have to know the finer details in crediting mechanisms, for example, right?
Yeah.
So we appreciate a bit of an overview, but then we also very much appreciate the in-depth knowledge in a certain field, and the willingness to learn more on the T part and really execute on on the depth part, essentially. Yeah.
A wider like perspective, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
like and also being deep, like, and specialized in to provide a very in-depth contribution.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that makes total sense. And it's actually like very aligned with what like the trends, like in terms of expertise are in terms of and but like we're almost at the end of this conversation. I'm really sorry. Okay, I go ahead. Like I know that we have like a super I mean, we could talk for hours absolutely about this topic, but then what are like your last recommendation or your last message to the people that are following us? And by the way, we have like also some people that are saying hi from Egypt and sending congratulations to you from Argentina.
Oh, thank you so much. Nice. I can't see you, but it's nice to know that you're there.
We will see the comments afterwards. I'm sure.
Okay, perfect. Would love to. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on an individual level, I think get started today, and small changes are better than no changes, better done than perfect. And this is all, you know, it sounds very, very much like a commonplace again, but there's so much truth in it. Like little changes in your individual behavior already make a big difference. And please do it. Please go to our website and measure your footprint. I think that's just an interesting one. It's precycle.today. And yeah, I think also, I don't know how many of you have made the jump to you know, work for sustainable businesses or impact businesses, or found your own impact business. That is something I highly encourage to do as well. Take the leap of faith and you know, dive into this new world. There's a lot of things work differently in the impact sector. I feel from human connections and general appreciation to yeah, the sense of purpose that you find in life. For us, it's pretty special to know that people find fair employment due to our work, and that there's children who actually go to school instead of working on the landfill, and that is a level of I would say return that I haven't found in another sector yet. So it's I highly encourage you to do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Christian, we have a question actually for you. So what is the biggest challenge at the moment for Precycle?
The biggest challenge for us is to gain traction in the market. We are not Greenpeace or WWF or the likes. We don't have a strong brand yet, right? So to get that recognition and acceptance in the market, also plastic compensation as such is a total novel concept, and there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. And so acceptance in the market is quite slower than anticipated. So if you know any brands that run on Shopify, for example, send them our way. We would love to have a conversation with them. And yeah, I think that is the biggest challenge: traction in the market and really building that brand that one day, you know, is as trustful and trustworthy as Greenpeace and WWF, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah. But then also like even starting to make an impact even with a small group, and then getting bigger and bigger. Like this is how to start. But then I think this is just the beginning. And your idea, I mean, you have a great idea. You have like lots already that you have done and you have already tackled. And I think there are like so many things that you guys, I mean, so many good things ahead that are waiting for you guys. So and I hope that this also conversation will get Precycle to a wider audience, or at least people can head over to your website that I repeat here again, which is precycle.today, right?
Correct.
And head over to the website. There are lots of informations over there. You can see everything, how you can make an impact as an individual, how you can make an impact as an e-commerce, how you guys are also organizing things like on a community level, so on a local level, and how you're giving back. You're very transparent in this, and so it's really appreciated. Like people talk a lot about washing and stuff like this. So this is definitely not the case. So you guys are doing a great job in that sense. So for people that want to go in depth and learn a little bit more how you do things, on the website, everything is written, and then obviously they can get in touch with you, maybe on LinkedIn, and hopefully this conversation will lead to other conversations that might be happening. So
I would love that. Yeah, reach out, be in touch. LinkedIn, Instagram, we're very approachable and quick to answer. So yeah, would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. People we definitely invite people to do that. So thank you again, Christian. So I think we are like around like 35 minutes. Our conversation was quite long, but then super interesting. We went super in depth, and hopefully this will inspire people to take action, even a small step. Also to realize and be aware of how much plastic we consume, and how we can even in our small tiny lives make something and start to do something, because it takes a little step, one at a time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but do it today. Don't wait.
Yes, do it today. Is it precycle.today, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Christian, thank you so much. I will do I will tell to our audience that we are doing this conversation every now and then. So please tune in and keep this space monitored for future conversation. Maybe again we will have the chance to talk with Christian. And also, if you've missed this, if you can subscribe to Work for Impact, you will receive our newsletter, and you will receive recordings of this live, and also other interesting news and opportunities for those who are looking for jobs in the impact sector. So thank you again. Christian, was so nice having you here, and thank you so much for sharing your story at Precycle. And let's have a nice evening, everyone, or have a nice rest of the day for anyone in the world.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, and all the best to all of you.
Bye. Bye.